Hey, it's Jeff Cannata with another NLB Mini. Just got home from a screening of Godzilla, which was a movie I was extremely excited about this summer. Looking at the big summer slate of blockbusters, this was top on my list. The teaser trailer that I had seen a year ago at Comic-Con, I think it was, or even longer ago than that, maybe 2 years ago. Really cool. And Gareth Edwards, the director who directed a movie called Monsters, this Godzilla was going to be the grounded, gritty, realistic Godzilla movie with humanity and gravitas. Because Monsters, his other movie about giant monsters, was a movie that was grounded and gritty and full of humanity and gravitas. And I thought, finally, we're going to get the Godzilla movie that we want. We've always wanted this really realistic take, this really mature adult version of Godzilla that looks at it as a catastrophe and not as a cartoon character. And I'm sad to say that this is not that movie. I was so disappointed by this Godzilla film. So disappointed. It turns out, at least for my money, it's a really cheesy, Hollywoodized version of Godzilla all over again. It looks beautiful. It has some absolutely exquisite cinematography and some incredible visual moments. But as a story, as a film, as an experience, very, very disappointing. It just doesn't deliver any of the magic that made Monsters such a great movie, that real groundedness. And it's sad because it has a lot of really fantastic actors in it. Ken Watanabe is in it. What's his name? Bryan Cranston is in it. Kick-Ass, Aaron something or other, is in it. These are actors I thought, oh my gosh, look at this. Look at Juliette Binoche. This cast is indicative of this kind of tone we're going to see from this Godzilla movie. This is going to feel like an independent movie made on a gigantic scale. That's what I wanted. I wanted to feel like that independent Monsters movie that Gareth Edwards had already made, that feeling of like, oh my gosh, we're inside the humanity of this gigantic event. But what we get instead, unfortunately, is a story where every time the human beings are on screen, it feels preposterous, ridiculous, a waste of our time, and I don't understand why we're following the characters that we follow. None of them do anything even remotely interesting or particularly heroic. They don't add any information to the Godzilla situation. This could have been a 20-minute movie that would have been really fun to watch because it has some really awesome monster fighting in it. But if you want to go see monster fighting, I highly recommend, and a kind of lame human plot with cheesy dialogue, I would recommend renting Pacific Rim. It's a movie that understands we're here to see awesome fights, and it shows it to you in all its glory. Godzilla leads up, ends with a spectacular fight that is truly spectacular, and I will give it that. But everything else that we endure along the way feels bloated and unnecessary, and I don't understand why we care about the main characters that we care about. This is that kind of Hollywood filmmaking where just because we happen to be following these characters, we expected to care about them, and everybody else is dying around them, but for some reason we care whether they find each other, even though they haven't acted in a particularly intelligent, compelling, caring way to anybody else. So it's only because we were introduced to them that we care. I will grant you this. Bryan Cranston does his damnedest to sell this movie. He is acting his guts out, and gosh darn it, that guy's an awesome actor. But even he cannot save the clunky dialogue and the really series of coincidences that get our main characters in the right place at the right time all the time. And Cranston's son in this movie, who's really the hero, he has a particular set of skills that we contrive to get him into situations where he's going to have to use them. And it seems preposterous and ridiculous that he's always seems to be where he needs to be. But then he doesn't even end up using them. I mean, I suppose that might be a spoiler, but it's dumb. It's dumb. I was really profoundly disappointed for this movie. I saw this movie, actually, old fans of TRS might remember us having a live show at the Dolby Labs Theater in Burbank, California, which is where I got to see Godzilla. And I got to see it in the Dolby Labs in the best possible sound system probably on the planet. It had Atmos, but I mean, this is Dolby Labs. This is where they perfect everything. So the sound, at least in my screening, was absolutely stellar. I mean, this is a movie that rumbles, and I liked that about it. And as I said, visually, pretty interesting at some points. But so often, right when we're about to get to something really cool, i.e. monsters doing cool monster stuff, this thing we signed up for, we cut away and we go back to the humans, which are not doing anything particularly interesting, which are not contributing in any meaningful way to us understanding the creature or progressing. We literally get to the point where the humans create a problem, and then the whole third act is trying to get out of the problem that the humans created, when Godzilla is what we care about. Godzilla is the name on the marquee. It's the reason we went to the theater, and this movie could have been about discovering him. I mean, there's some really cool mythology, at least in the first third of the movie, that we learn, but it's all just spouted at us, and none of it matters. None of it is used in any meaningful way to affect any change or solve any of the problems that we have at the beginning of the movie. We only invent a problem in the middle of the movie that's the climactic solve. There's no actual interesting progression of any information. And it could have been just a monster movie about monsters fighting. And for that, it does some really fun things, but again, not often enough, and often a tease of something that we move away from. It just really disappointed me that it was so dumb. It's a dumb movie full of dumb characters that do dumb things. And maybe that's the Godzilla template. Maybe that's what Godzilla is about. It's about human beings being dumb. I mean, I know Godzilla was always a metaphor for the atomic bomb and the stupidity of humans to use that kind of a weapon on ourselves. So maybe this is all in part and parcel with what a Godzilla movie is supposed to be. Dumb human beings doing dumb things. But it doesn't make for very fun watching. So this isn't the smart Godzilla movie that I wanted. It's a dumb Godzilla movie with a really high budget and some beautiful cinematography and some fun moments. But overall, a massive disappointment. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, folks. Thanks for watching, and I hope you subscribe and like. There'll be more NLBs all week long.